Hi, I'm Cassidy.
And I'm Lindsay.
Welcome to the Marikai podcast. Marikai is a Greek word that means the act of doing something with soul, creativity, or love. To put something of yourself into your work.
This podcast is for fellow photographers to encourage, inspire, and build community in the photography industry.
With an ultimate goal to reflect Christ through our words and businesses.
We are inviting you into our weekly coffee dates where we talk all about our hot takes, interview other creatives who inspire us, and share our hearts with you.
Our coffee will be bold, and probably our conversations too. So pour yourself a cup, get cozy, and join us for this week's episode. Welcome back.
Hello. We are here again.
Yeah.
On another beautiful day.
It was a beautiful day.
It is such a beautiful day. This is my happy weather. This is like the perfect temperature.
High 70s.
Yeah.
Breezy.
Nice, cool breeze, and it's not too humid today.
Yeah. Yes.
So nice.
Yeah. I did a wedding on Sunday, and it was like 90 degrees. And it was like, the wedding was outside, and this venue didn't have like a speck of shade. There were just no trees.
No.
It was brutal.
that in May is not okay.
No, I know. That's what everyone was saying. They were like, what is it, like July or August right now?
It's not okay. We need a slow fade, which
I know.
Today feels like a slow fade.
Yes, we're back to ideal springtime.
Yes, ideal spring weather.
Drinking good coffee.
Good coffee. We're already on iced coffee. We have totally skipped over hot coffee. We are drinking iced coffee today.
Which is not my norm. I'm actually normally someone who would still wake up in the summertime, like mid-July. It's like already 80 degrees when you wake up in the morning, and I still start my day with hot coffee.
I actually do all year round.
You do?
Like, I already had my hot coffee today.
Me too!
Okay, so we are staying true to ourselves, because this is our second cup of coffee and it's iced, so it's acceptable.
And it's like 1 p.m. You gotta have iced coffee. But when you
afternoon.
Over, yes. Afternoon iced coffee, morning hot.
Yeah. It's a rule.
Tell us about, you made the coffee for us this time. So
I did.
Tell us about what beans you used in your process.
Yeah, so we're drinking another local coffee today. It's One Village Coffee is the company, and I believe, I kind of already threw away the bag, but I think it's named Nordico.
Okay.
It's a medium roast. Ooh. I think it might be a blend. Mm-hmm. I threw away the bag, so LOL. But it's One Village Coffee, and I made it iced today because I have a killer iced coffee recipe, so maybe we should put it in the show notes because I think more people need to know about it. But forewarning, you have to use a gram scale because I do not mess around with coffee, and I use a gram scale, and I time my coffee as well, my brew. So
that's intense, but I will say that as soon as I sipped this, I was like, this is the best coffee. Better than anything I've ever made. And Lindsay is like, well, it's because I use a scale, so you should use that too.
Yeah, I highly recommend.
It really does make a difference.
Really, any coffee recipes from Lindsay are going to include actual measurements.
Yeah.
And then coffee recipes from Cassie are measured with the heart.
And they're okay.
They're great. My coffee was great.
Yeah, but
I actually made my own coffee at your house last week.
Yeah, but without a scale.
It was still really good. I could taste the heart.
Well, the heart. And when you use local good beans,
it's hard to mess up.
Yeah, it is hard to mess up.
Yeah, so that's what we're drinking today, but we are drinking it with cream. We are drinking it with glass straws.
Oh, that's what you're doing.
So it's
you hear clinking?
You might hear clinking while we're chugging our coffee, so.
Like this.
Yeah.
ASMR.
Maybe ASMR. You're welcome. That's some free content for you. Some free clinking.
Oh, that's fun.
But we're excited to get talking today because we're going to be talking all about scouting new locations and shooting at brand new locations and just like everything pretty much surrounding locations for photo shoots, more for photo shoots than weddings, is what we're going to be talking about today. It's really fun.
And it's fun because Lindsay and I were realizing that we've never like sat down and talked about this with each other. This is actually one topic that we have not deeply discussed previously with each other. So I don't know what you're going to say for a lot of things, and maybe we will disagree or just have different approaches. I actually think there's a few topics we're going to have completely different approaches on.
This might be one of them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're more like fun and spontaneous.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm more absolutely like structured, need a plan,
planner.
like
yeah.
And
I'm so not a planner.
I think it's gonna be a fun mix of so whichever side you guys are on, as far as you are a planner or you are more spontaneous, I think you're gonna relate with what we have to say. With one of us,
hopefully.
And I hope it's me. No, just kidding.
Because I'm right and you're wrong.
Because your way scares me.
Your way planners stress me out sometimes. You know how, like, non-planners stress planners out? Like, people who are so type A, like, really stresses me out.
How are we friends? No, we balance each other out. Yeah, it's all about happy mediums. Balance. Yes. Yeah. So what we're first going to talk about is what we look for in a new location. Yeah. So what is something that you look for, Cassidy?
Yeah, I look for, well, I guess first kind of talk about the area that we live in. Yeah. Because even though we both live in Pennsylvania, my area of PA about an hour from you is still very different from even where you live.
So true.
I kind of live in Amish land, farms, like lots of open, pretty hilly though because of all the farms and stuff. Yeah. So a lot of what I'm looking for is a lot of like that open fields, tall grasses, not a lot of trees, honestly. Probably like some kind of creek or something like that is like a very casual location I often shoot in. Yeah, which helps with, like, golden hour, too, if it's, like, pretty flat. I always joke around that, like, people will call, like, some of the hills around us, like, mountains. And I'm like, no, we don't have mountains here. We have hills.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, because I grew up in Colorado, and when I moved to Pennsylvania, everyone would talk about, let's go to the mountains for the weekend, which is the Poconos, which is... I went to the Poconos for the first time, like, I think it was, like, a few months after living in Pennsylvania, and I was like, wait, like, this is your mountains? Like, this is a green hill with trees on it. No,
literally. I think the Poconos are hills.
Personally, hot take, it is not a mountain unless the trees do not grow on top of it because it's so tall that the altitude cuts off the oxygen for the trees.
And does that mean there's going to be, like, snow on the tops, too, or not always?
Sometimes. Not always.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes.
Didn't know there'd be a hot take in this episode, but...
That was just a little freebie. It's my Colorado opinions coming out.
What type of location, or, like, what do you look for, then, when you're location scouting?
I look for... I really, depend on the couple to kind of tell me what, like, vibe they're looking for. I love, like, a nice open space where we're going to have room to roam around and also have, like, enough freedom and, like, privacy for the couple to be comfortable. A lot of couples that I work with are similar to me in the way that they're not the most comfortable in front of the camera, nor in front of other people, like PDA and stuff like that. It just doesn't come naturally to everyone. So I always look for... aside from, like, the type of location, somewhere that's not going to be super crowded so that my couple can really focus on each other and not have to worry about, like, other people watching them.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I feel like I do that too, but almost for myself because...
That too, absolutely.
I hate shooting, especially if other photographers are around. There's this one location, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's like the Lock Ridge Park, and they have those bluebells that bloom only for like 2 weeks, and that's it, but they're like becoming so popular.
I photographed there a few years ago during that, and that was before it got crazy, but there was still, I photographed there at sunrise to try to avoid the crowds.
Me too!
And there was still, like, so many people there with, like, their wagon full of gear and light equipment.
Yeah. That happened when I was there too. Like, same thing. Someone, like, we're shooting outside and someone still brought, like, all this lighting equipment. And there's so many photographers there. But then I know if I am overwhelmed and stressed like that, then my clients are going to, like, vibe off of that. And, like, I'm not going to be able to help them feel comfortable if I'm uncomfortable. Yeah. So I would say privacy, a location that's private is, like, a huge deal.
Because I feel like it stunts my creativity, too. Yeah. When I'm, like, constantly worried about other photographers or, like, being in their shots and things like that.
Or, like, I don't want to copy them either. Like, if I see them using a spot I like and then I want to go use it, but I'm like, am I copying them? Like, I feel like I can't use my full creativity.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Something else I look for in a session location, a new session location is diversity. Like, if there's only one corner of that place that looks good and has good light, will the gallery look exactly the same? Like, I want a few different backdrops so that I'm delivering a gallery that has diverse locations, and also my creativity feeds off of, like, new little spots and, like, corners of a location.
Yes.
So something that has diversity.
Yeah. That's always nice, especially if there's, like, an outfit change included, too. That
Yes,
can help really make a gallery feel, like, so complete.
I always actually almost even tell my couples to do 2 outfits, especially because my engagement sessions typically end up being a little bit longer. I say 2 outfits, one for your, like, nice, the nice look, to make mom happy for your invitations, and then one that actually feels like you.
Yeah.
Do you just wear, like jeans and t-shirts every day? Like, that's what I want you to wear. So
yeah, I love that. When you say your sessions are usually a little longer, what does that mean?
So this year they're getting longer because I am being a lot more intentional with my couples and getting to know them better, and encouraging them to have their engagement session as a time to really reflect their unique relationship. Mm-hmm. So not just basic, let's go to a pretty spot and take engagement photos. More like, what spot, like, is there a location that really feels like you, or a type of location that feels like you, and how can we infuse your personality into this session? And a lot of my couples have responded so beautifully to that with these beautiful visions, and that typically has been meaning an hour and a half to 2 hour sessions.
Okay, that's what mine are.
Yeah.
Okay, so if your sessions are that long, how far would you be willing to drive if you're doing, like, a 2 hour shooting session? How much would, how much would you be willing to drive for that?
Me? Ooh, okay, so because I grew up in Colorado, I'm never shy of a drive.
Okay.
So I include 30 miles for engagement sessions one way.
Okay.
So out in Pennsylvania, in my area, that can mean probably that's about an hour driving would be, like, included, give or take, in my sessions. But I'm always willing to drive further if they pay the travel fee, if it takes up more of my day. I would drive, like, 2 hours. I've driven 3 hours for an engagement session before.
Okay.
One way.
That's the furthest you've driven.
That's
pretty far. I actually do the same thing with my travel fee. I do 30 miles one way, no charge. That's just, like, included with your engagement session. Yeah. And then if you have a location you really want to shoot at, that's going to make me travel more than that, then I do a travel fee. Yeah.
So how long is too long for you of a drive?
I am similar, where because I live in the area I live in, it's like most things are going to be at least an hour drive to get anywhere. Yeah. So I'm so used to driving an hour, like, even drove an hour to your house today, but it felt so short. Yeah. Because I just am constantly driving that distance, like, every day. So I feel like an hour is happy, an hour and a half is probably, like,
a stretch.
Yeah, like, that's maybe as far as I would go without adding a travel fee. Right. The furthest I drove for a session, I did a proposal on the beach. So, but those are so short. Yeah. That was, like, a 3 hour, maybe 3.5 one way for a proposal. But this one was, they had their family, like, there, so I did, like, some shots of the moment, and then some shots of them, like, with their family celebrating, like, a little bit. That's good. And then that was it, so it was maybe, like, 30 minutes. Wow. Yeah, but there's a really pretty travel fee on that one. Yeah. And they paid it, so.
Yeah, when you get a travel fee, it's, like, kind of sometimes can make it okay to lose, like, half day of work. Yeah. Totally depends. Yeah. And also, the last thing that I really think about is locations that fit my brand. And I think you're the same way. Like, my brand is more around being outside and, being, like, nature and, trees. If not nature, I really play a lot on nostalgia and, like, coziness. So if being out hiking isn't a couple's vibe, there's a few, like, really pretty, like, cute small town downtowns that I photograph at, but things I avoid is, like, absolutely the city, because that's
same. Yeah, you knew that about me, though.
Yeah, we are the same in that way. Like, neither of us feel comfortable in the city. Yeah. And I recently have come to the realization that if I'm uncomfortable in a, like, location, that is not serving my couple the best. Yeah. Because that shows through the photos.
Yep. yeah, it's just not my, and I've turned down, like, yeah, I've actually turned down couples who have, from their inquiry form, literally said right from the beginning that they want to do an engagement session in the city, and I'm like, thank you for telling me that, because I'm not going to be the best photographer for you, and you're going to want to, like, and then I, like, refer them to friends who love cities, who do an amazing job, and I'm like, they can just serve you so much better than I can, because I'll be inwardly panicking and not enjoying it, and I also just don't have the same eye to, like, see the city in a beautiful way.
Right. It takes a different eye.
It does.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Which is something we'll talk more about, like, later, like, what our eyes see when we show up to a location. But before we jump to that, I want to talk a little bit more about, like, this process we both have of, like, finding locations that fit our brands and our couples, because we both have that approach where we kind of put our couple first.
Yeah.
And, like, what they want, but obviously help them figure out what they want. And so I think you can start maybe by sharing a little bit about how you share, like, do you share location options with your couples? How do you gather that information from them? And then how do you, like, present options?
Yeah. So, I work with HoneyBook, so I feel like I should say that as a disclaimer first, because HoneyBook is incredible for, like, organization. Not sponsored, but if you want to join HoneyBook, I have a link for you. Because that is just superior for keeping me on track. Before a couple even reaches out to plan their engagement session, I reach out to them to start gathering what they have envisioned, kind of learning about who they are as a couple, and I kind of tell them about, you know, what is a vision for your engagement session, and I also, that is when I begin encouraging them to think about this in an intentional way, to pause from the stress of a wedding and stop and think about your relationship and how you want that to be reflected through photos, because celebrating your relationship through photos is something so rare and beautiful, and doing it right is, like, something that is such a passion of mine. Mm-hmm. So I reach out with a questionnaire to gather their vision, and I ask if they have any specific locations or type of locations that they're really drawn to. In that questionnaire, I also have linked a few galleries that all had a very strong vision behind them. The couples had a very strong vision with their locations and their engagement session, so I have linked a few of those that the couples can go through to help them see, like, this is what their vision is, and this is how it interpreted into their photos. And they actually go through them. A lot of times in the questionnaire, the couples reference a gallery that they specifically really resonated with from really those cool. 3 that I have. And so that really has helped a lot. And actually a lot of them have been like, oh, I actually really like this location that you took that couple to, so can we go to that location? Mm-hmm. So that really helps. So based on that information, I send them a link that I have compiled tons of different photo locations on. It's a website called Bendable. It's really nice and user-friendly, and you can make a big list with links and photos and notes, and I have that. It's like a whole engagement session it's almost like a Pinterest board vibe, but it's not Pinterest. And it's specifically just for location. So I have them also categorized into, like, nature-centered locations. I have a few garden locations, because a lot of my couples like the garden vibe, like, you know, places like Longwood Gardens and stuff like that. I have sections of locations that are a little bit more non-traditional. Like I said, cute little downtowns. And then I also have, like, more adventurous location ideas if someone's feeling crazy and, like, wants to go up to New York or something. I have some of those listed, like a Hail Mary, just in case. And then I also have a whole nother section of that, of all the locations that have no travel fees. So that really helps guide my couple too, and based on their questionnaire answers and based on what photo location they say they're drawn to, then I can kind of advise them from that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel like my process is similar. Questionnaire, starting with questionnaire and HoneyBook. Yes. I don't know how you move forward without that. But yeah, that definitely helps. It plays a role in a lot of different things, but a big one is how to choose a location, for sure. Getting, like, to know what my clients or couples want. Yeah. I literally ask them to pick their favorite between, like, mountains and woods, beach or lake, open field, or I have a fourth option that I can't think of right now.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and have them, like, pick what their favorite is. I ask them about, like, dates they've been on, like their most frequent date, versus their favorite date they've ever been on. Random questions that probably seem random, but like they actually play a part in how I'm choosing their location. Ask them if they have like dreams or goals for the future, stuff like that, like how they met, obviously, that kind of story, how they got engaged. Because I can always recycle, like, whether it's a location they literally went on a first date on, or somehow, like, using part of their story to, like, include the location in continuing to tell that story. So, yeah, I feel like that's kind of how, and then I present them, after I read through their questionnaire, and, like, kind of get a feel of what it seems like they want. I also ask for a link to a Pinterest board if they happen to have already had one.
Yeah.
And I'll maybe look through their Pinterest board if they have one. And then I just use the Notes app in my phone. Ironically, like, all of my couples have also been iPhone users, so it's just, like, worked so far. But, yeah, I create, like, a little note in the Notes app, and I do like 3 or 4 location options. So I put the name of the location, the address, so they can look up how far of a drive it is for them. I write a little bit about like the vibe of the location, like some highlights, like some like this one has a staircase, or this one has this thing that you mentioned that I think would be cool, like little highlights that's cool about the location. And then I drop pictures that either I have taken in that spot, or if I've never been there, I use like, and we'll talk about this later too, but I use like Pinterest photos or Instagram photos, and I specifically say like not my photo, but I just want you to get an idea, like this is what it would look like if your photos were taken in this location. Because I'm a very visual person, and I feel like if you just send a Google Maps link to your client and they like see what the field looks like, but they have no idea, like
crappy direct, like
they're like,
sun photo.
But what would it look like for me to be standing in that field and have my picture taken? Like,
that's true.
It doesn't always translate, especially for someone who isn't a photographer. So if you actually show pictures of sessions that have been done there, then they can be like, oh, these are exactly what my photos would look like if I chose this location. Yeah. So yeah, I give them 4 options, and then I always ask for their thoughts. Like, and I say, like, if none of these are it, I can keep brainstorming, but these are like the first 4 that like came into my mind. And I'm usually checking I also keep like a list in my own phone of like locations I've shot in, like my go-to locations. Yeah. Yeah. So I can always turn back to that and be like, wait, where have I shot before that I liked?
Yeah. I love how our approaches are similar, but there's certain nuances that are very, like, type A.
You being more organized.
Or you being more spontaneous. Like, I love that you, like, are building this in notes.
I know. It's a little chaotic, but...
If your iPhone notes ever die, who are you going to be?
I don't know. I love my iPhone notes.
I know. Me too. My iPhone notes are, like, my whole brain, so...
Or, like, if they don't have an Apple phone... I don't know how I'd figure out a different way to send it to them. I'd be like, well,
I only book iPhone user.
Sorry, you have to be an Apple lover like me.
I also did want to say, for that bendable that I use, I can actually upload my own photos onto it, as like you can scroll through I think 3 or 4 example photos of a location. So if they're looking at a location, I can upload my own photos. Yeah. And they can look through like past sessions I've done there. Yeah. And so that, similar thing. Because, you can't expect, like, a couple to, like, be as visual as we are, because we know what the end product was going to look like. But they can't, you know, we can't expect them to imagine themselves in the middle of that. Yeah. Like, you're so true.
Yeah. So, that's what we that's kind of, like, what we look for.
Very similar.
Yeah. Okay, so what about, if we have never shot in a location before, how do we go about, like, finding a new location, and, like, what are the steps we take before we bring a couple there?
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to share yours first?
Okay.
Haha. Just pushing it off on you.
All right. Okay, so I'll share one thing that has happened to me, like, numerous times. I'm sure every photographer can relate. I've seen, like, reels about jokes about this, but it's, like, where you're driving, like, to the grocery store, or, like, you're just living your life, and you're always just kind of looking out the side of your eye at, like, random roads, or, like, the sides of the highways always have the most gorgeous flowers you wish you could shoot in. So I feel like ever since I've become a wedding photographer, my eye has been just, like, looking for super random location spots all the time that I just stumble upon. Yeah. So one time this happened to me. I was actually driving less than 5 minutes from my house, but there was a detour, like, so a certain road that I always take was closed, so I had to take, like, a different road, and as I was driving down that road, there was, like, this, actually, technically, it's a gun club and fishing, like, gun and fishing club property, but it had this beautiful creek and a pond, and what? Your face.
Wait, is this where I took pictures of you and Kaden?
No, but it's very close to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Very close to that.
I got distracted.
No, it's so similar though, but yeah, a creek and a pond and these beautiful, like, trees, and it's hard to describe, but I just liked the type of greenery that was growing there. It looked like very much like ferns, and they're kind of growing up, like, the side of, like, this hill. It looked really cool. So I've taken, like, 5 different clients there now.
So cool.
Yeah, and I literally wouldn't have found it if it weren't for, like, a road detour. So, and I literally, what I did is I, like, saw it out of the corner of my eye, so I quickly, like, turned into it, and then I dropped the pin in my map of where I was and, like, saved it on my location list with a little bit, like, random road near my house that I loved.
I do the same exact thing.
And, like, took some pictures for reference for myself.
Like, driving at golden hour is so dangerous.
Because you're like, look at that, look over there.
That one. Especially this time of year where there's so many wildflowers just out and about. It's so true.
Or, like, the tall grasses that, like, catch the light, and you're like, oh, I want to shoot there.
Yeah. You're like, that's so dreamy. Yeah. No, it's so true. I do the same thing. Yeah. And then once I actually find a location that I'm like, I want to look at that further, but maybe it's, like, somewhere I cannot go, or maybe it's, like, a brand new location that I've never even driven by. Something that I have become an expert in is using Google Earth, not Google Maps, Google Earth, and finding a location and, like, using the street view to scout it. Even if not, and I don't use that for necessarily lighting scouting, because typically the photos are taken at random lighting times, random dates, but, like, if I'm location scouting for, say, like, a cute small downtown, using that to see what streets I would actually want to go check out, and also even, like, hiking areas, check out the parking lot, like, does it look nice enough to take my client there, and checking out, like, I'm shooting at a lake tonight for a session, and I literally used Google Earth this morning to make sure, like, do I like the look of this spot before I even, like, go to location scout there. So that's something that I use a lot, is Google Earth.
Yeah, I use Google Earth, and I use sometimes, like, the Instagram geotags, which we talked about before, because that was literally how we met. Was, like, I went on Instagram and I typed in Peace Valley Park, and I was just scrolling through, like, specifically the location tag of it, and seeing, like, everyone who has used this location in their posts, and I was looking for other photographers' posts on that spot, but I just do that for, like every location before I show up. I just, like, get an idea of, like, how have other people, like, seen this spot through their eyes and through their lenses, and do I like it, and do I feel like I could do something with that spot too.
Right. I do the same thing. Like, even at, like, venues, wedding venues, before I shoot there, I always look that up too, just to see, like, what the options are. I obviously stay away at all costs of, like, copying. Like, I never try to copy, but it's good to just, like, feed your inspiration and kind of feed the possibilities of a location. Yeah.
This might be something with my spontaneous, chaotic brain, but I always tell my couples, sometimes they ask me, like, oh, have you shot at this venue before? And if it's a venue I have not shot at, I'm like, but that's actually a good thing, because if I've shot at the venue multiple times, I feel like I keep going back to the venue with the same, like, here's what I did before mindset, and so it almost feels like I'm stuck on repeat, because it's like, well, I shot the dress here, I did a couple of portraits here, so I almost, like, have the mindset of, like, I have to, not that I have to do it again, but, like, oh, that worked last time.
It's an easy cop-out.
Yes. But if it's, like,
agree.
A brand new venue that I've never been in before and it's gorgeous, like, I show up with so much, like, fresh inspiration where I'm, like, excited to, like, see it with a fresh eye and walk around and, like, have fun with all the possibilities. Because it feels like new, clean slate for me. And
it really does.
Okay, so you're the same.
I'm the same way. Like, honestly, there's a layer of nervousness for me, because I'm like, I don't know where the sun's gonna set and stuff like that. But once I get there and once I, like, walk around,
and you just show up early.
I always show up early, especially if it's a venue I've never shot at, so I can walk around, and that, like, really feeds my inspiration.
Oh my gosh, I agree. I like love when it's a new venue.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's like you learn like, oh wait, the sunset's right there, so it's gonna be so stunning for their golden hour and things like that.
Yeah, and then it's the best.
Yeah, for sure. Something that I recently discovered that I want the whole world to know about for scouting new locations, because I'm actually currently working with a couple to find a photo location for their engagement session in Washington State, so up in the Pacific Northwest. Insane. I am beyond excited traveling out there in July for that, and oh my gosh, I've always dreamed about going to the Pacific Northwest like since I was a child. Aww. So this is just so exciting. I'm photographing their wedding in Pennsylvania in October, but they live in Washington, so I was like, hey, do you want your engagement session out there since so much of your life is out there? They also have their dog out there. Aww. And their dog is like a child to them, so we are going to include their dog in the session.
Oh, fun.
And they love hiking and climbing mountains together, so that's what we're going to do for their engagement photos. It's a big hike, and she recommended a bunch of their favorite hikes, but to ensure that there was going to be a good photo location for them, something that I recently found is called suncalc.org and it's
that's how you know it's legit.
.org. Yeah, you know it's a good old site when it's a .org. Good information. And it's brilliant website where it not only tells you when the sun sets on a certain date, because it changes obviously throughout the year, but it also will show you what direction the sun will be setting on the specific date of your photo shoot. So
it's such a game changer.
Yeah, because the sun direction changes throughout the year. Mm-hmm. Like I've before had, a go-to photo location that I take a couple to in May, and then I take a different couple there in October, and I'm like, wait, where's the sun? Why is it over there?
Right.
And I forget. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I didn't pay attention in whatever class that would be.
Well, and I've always... is that a class?
Like...
Geography? Astrology?
Astronomy?
What's the difference between astronomy and astrology?
I think astrology is learning, like, the direction of stars.
Oh, okay.
Astronomy... Girl, I don't know.
One of them is, like...
I probably failed it.
Yeah. Well, clearly we both did.
But anyway, whatever class taught us that why the sun changes direction...
Oh, yeah. Might have been helpful to keep
might have been helpful for a future photographer.
Well, yeah, because I use Sun Today, which gives me... this, like, it gives me golden hour, it gives me what time the sun sets, it gives me blue hour, it gives me all these other things that I really don't pay attention to because I don't need to know that. I just want to know golden hour.
Yeah.
And maybe blue hour. And you can put in your location and the time of year, day, month, whatever, so it can tell you, because that's always changing too.
Yeah.
But what it doesn't tell me is what direction. It just tells me times.
Right. So definitely check out Sun Calc then, because... it's so nice. Like, I was also using it this morning because of the location I was scouting out. Because that is a game changer. Like, especially when a location is at an end goal, like a lake. Like, if they want that lake in the background of their photos, it would be tragic if the sun is setting in front of them.
Right. That's always my
and we don't have time to hike around the whole lake.
Yeah.
So, So, definitely that is a game changer for location scouting.
Well, that's helpful because that was the whole reason I reached out to you as strangers on Instagram, was because I wanted that sun behind the river. But if you don't have a photographer you can reach out to about it, then you can just use SunCalc.
There you go. If you want to be antisocial and an introvert like me, use SunCalc. That's an ad.
If you don't want to make a new best friend, hello.
I know. Sometimes it's just best to reach out to someone local, because then it can build community. But when that's not an option, there's some good resources out there.
Definitely.
Another resource that I love using, because I love hiking and I love being outside and I already have this app, is All Trails. It's an app, or I think you can go online, but has hundreds and hundreds of hiking trails, pretty much any hiking trail it has on it, and you can read reviews, it shows how long the hike is, how strenuous. Sometimes my couples want to go on a hike for their engagement session, and so that is really nice. You can also look at photos and things like that. So I use All Trails as well, and sometimes I even send a couple the link to that for them to check out the trail as well.
Nice.
Yeah. Have you ever used All Trails for engagement sessions?
Well, I don't really do hikes. I think literally one time, because I did have a couple who their specific vision was all they wanted was like a waterfall in their photos. I was like, where the heck do I find a waterfall in Pennsylvania?
There's tons!
Well, I found one, the Delaware Gap.
I'm dying to go there.
Yeah, I found this one. I Googled for this couple that I love so much. I Googled the heck out of the internet for them.
Sometimes you have to.
And it worked. I don't remember what it was called off the top of my head. It's in my handy dandy notes
Oh my gosh, I'm sure it is.
But it was somewhere along the Delaware Gap.
Yeah.
But it was like maybe half a mile walk, and it was just a walk, not a hike. And it was actually like on like planks of wood. Like it was like a it wasn't like you were hiking in the dirt. You were hiking on like a wooden,
I remember seeing
thingy majiggy. Yeah.
Like
a bridge. Like the whole thing was like this bridgey thing. And then you kind of got to the end and there was a waterfall there at the end.
What's that called?
The wooden like
it's not
structure.
The wooden structure. It's called a boardwalk.
Oh, is it really? I thought those were only at the beach.
Oh my god.
Well, that makes sense because it's boards and you're walking on them, and it was a boardwalk in the woods. Anyways, beautiful. I used all trails for that though.
I'm so proud of you.
Because I wanted to know how long that walk was. That was a perfect location because it makes it look like you're on a hike.
Yeah.
And there's that staircase in the middle of the woods. Stunning.
I remember that session.
Stunning.
Of yours. It was really pretty.
Oh my gosh. I would go back there with a couple.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and then they had bathrooms you could change in too.
That's really nice.
Which is also something, well, yeah, that's something I look for. Did we mention that?
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Maybe we can even just move on to that now.
Okay.
Which
bathrooms.
which is some things to look for when you have chosen a new location. You've already Google Earthed and Google Mapped the crap out of it.
Yeah.
And you have decided that this is where you and your couple want to go. Something that we look for.
Yeah.
To make sure that location is going to be a good fit and just well-rounded.
Yeah.
So,
extra little perks that a location can have that we try and look for.
yeah, that's sometimes, like, essential.
Yeah, like bathrooms.
Like bathrooms is sometimes essential. Unless, yeah. Yeah, so what were you going to say about bathrooms?
Well, okay, so that's just one thing I try and give my heads up to my couple, especially, again, if there's going to be an outfit change.
Yeah.
Is, like, are there bathrooms they could use there to change into? So, it's not, obviously, like you said, like, that's not a mandatory thing. And some couples really don't care. They change in their cars. I had one couple, this is a story I wanted to share about. I had one couple, I was doing their photos in, this was their idea, Washington, D.C.
Whew.
I know, during the cherry blossom. Yeah.
I thought we talked about that. We don't go to cities.
I did for them. They were worth it. I freaking adore them.
Okay.
They live in DC. Okay, so it is a little different if I'm going to a city and the couple lives there. Because if they know it well, I have no problem meeting them.
Yeah.
It's not I feel like it's not the norm because I don't know how honestly professional it is, but if they're showing me around instead of me showing them around. But if it's like their hometown, like kind of vibes, it's
right.
Kinda,
It's cute.
It's cute. I'm getting to know them more. They're showing me like things they love or whatever. Anyways, that was this. They were kind of showing me around DC. I had literally never in my life have been to Washington DC before. But so the cherry blossoms, super, super, super popular.
Right.
We were there at sunrise on a Sunday. So after our session, I actually went to church with them, which was super cute. Went to their church.
That's adorable.
Yeah, but we were doing their session around the cherry blossoms, so they wanted to do an outfit change. There's thousands of people around us. Ugh. No bathrooms. It's so crowded. We can't like move our cars or anything or lose our spot. So, there's like lines for the bathrooms and all this crazy stuff, and so they wanted to change and they just didn't care, so they were like basically just had this like blanket or like a towel like wrapped around that like one person like held it for the girl, and obviously it's like easier for a girl to like kind of slip a dress off like pants on underneath, but anyways, basically what happened is they both just changed under this towel out in public, and I was looking around and not one of these like hundreds of people around us even like looked over or cared at what we were doing, and they're literally like changing in public.
That is crazy
because there were no bathrooms to outfit change into.
Okay, so then pro tip for you and everyone else
listening.
Oh,
your changing tent?
Yes. Oh my gosh, everyone needs to buy a changing tent.
Yeah.
Whether you have adventurous couples or not, like that's literally in a city, like you would expect there to be
that's
bathrooms.
Wild.
Something that I bought, and it's such an incredible investment, like a $20 investment, is a pop-up changing tent. So you can find them on Amazon. Yeah, I literally think it costed $20 or $30. incredible. It folds up into a little tiny circle. Not tiny, but I absolutely can just keep it in your car. I keep mine in my car, and I use it all the time for couples. Even when there is, like, a bathroom, but it's, like, a gross porta potty. Like, the couples would prefer to just pop up the changing tent and change right there. It makes them feel so much more comfortable. Like, comfort for your couple is, like, so key for your engagement session, because something could so easily throw off the mood and, like, their affection together and stuff like that. So that's something that I bought that my couples love, and they're always so appreciative of it. But funniest story, I don't know if you guys have ever, like, I don't know, tents in general are just the most annoying things to put away. And this changing tent I've had for, like, 2 years. And still, every single time I take it out, I have to look up a YouTube video on how to fold it up.
No, I remember this because you took it out for that, like, styled shoot we did at, it was, like, the Tangled shoot at Foxbriar Inn.
And we were folding up at, like, pitch black.
Yes.
And
it took a while. Since
then, I have found a video that really helps, that lives in my history of YouTube. And I watch it, like, once a week because I still, to this day,
can't
like,
get it.
I always just shove it in my car, like, full size. I have a Mini Cooper. It goes from all the way from the windshield to the back of my car.
Like,
and then after my couple leaves, I like pull up my YouTube video.
They can't know.
But yeah, buy a changing tent because it is really nice. And even like if there is bathrooms, like I said, it's sometimes just easier to just pop it up in the middle of the location. Like,
mine sometimes walking the whole...
Right.
Do you know how much time it can take to go to their car, get the change of clothes, walk to the bathroom, change, walk back? 30 minutes.
We're racing golden hour. Like, we don't have time for that. It has little backpack straps.
Yeah.
So you can just throw it on your back or, like, make him carry it.
That's really nice.
That's professional. Just kidding. Don't make him carry it.
Make him carry it.
You can just throw it on the ground and forget about it and shoot and then change quick.
Yeah. That is really nice.
I'm waiting for the day, though, that the wind catches. And
that's what I thought you were going to talk about when you said funniest story.
Well, that's maybe to be determined in the future. Typically, she, like, holds it for him, and then he holds it for her.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've just had a lot of couples literally changing out in the open. Maybe I should get a changing tent. They don't care. It's their idea. They're like, I'll just change right here. I don't care.
I got it after I was doing a maternity shoot, and this poor 8-month pregnant woman had to change in her car. And I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
Done.
I would feel, that would make me feel bad.
Yeah. So, just buy one now.
Yeah.
Add it to the Amazon cart. It's a write-off.
I was just going to say, write-off.
Yep. It's also just nice to have. So, yeah. So, that's something. So, something to think about is absolutely bathrooms and also parking. Like, is there good parking? Is there safe parking? If this is a location that you just found on the side of the road, is there enough room to, like, pull off on the side of the road? Or, you know, will their car be broken into? Like, there are some locations that I've shot in, like, Colorado where I know that this is a location where car window break-ins happen all the time. So I just inform my couple and I say, any wallet or anything, just bring it with you and we'll put it in my backpack and I'll just, like, have it on my back. But just being aware of the safety of the situation, of the location, is really important. And if it's not the safest because of, you know, circumstances, just informing them of that. And, you know, bringing your pepper spray.
Yeah, really. No, there's been so many times where I'm walking back to my car after a session and I'm walking alone and I call Kaden every time and I just have him on the phone with me.
Yeah.
And because I feel like I feel like that's less of a threat if you're clearly on the phone talking. Like, I'm less of a target for someone to, like, beat up.
I do the same thing. I actually, like, FaceTime Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until I get, like, in my car and then I'm like, hey, I'm safe.
Also, a fun little safety tip that I sometimes do is if I do feel like there's someone behind me, I've luckily it's never been a dangerous situation, but there has been times where I'm like, I really just feel like someone's behind me. It's sometimes, like, not the best to just, like, stop and, like, turn around because,
No, if you're, like, aggressive and, like, well, that's why I always have, like, wondered, is being on the phone, like, not texting, I mean, like, calling on the phone, like, is that more or less of a threat? Because in my mind, I'm, like, probably less of a threat because I'm clearly talking to someone, so if something were to happen, someone's immediately aware, like, I'm not okay. Yeah. But then the other flip side is, like, but do I look like I'm less aware of my surroundings? Because that makes you...
Right.
But if you're, like, turning around and, like, you're clearly aware of your surroundings,
well, what I was going to say is that if you're FaceTiming, you can look behind you with your phone being in front of you. Right. So you're, like, looking behind you, but, like, maybe they don't even notice, just to be, like, extra safe.
Yeah.
Really. I know, it's a flip side.
Because I'm like, do I look like I'm less aware of my surroundings?
And that's when I just pray under my breath and walk.
I walk really fast.
So, yeah.
And I try to put on, like, my mean face. Do you have, like, a mean face?
Oh, absolutely. If I'm ever traveling alone and you see me, like, I'm sorry, I'm rude.
Yeah.
In the airport, I am rude.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm nice to, like, workers and stuff, but when I'm walking, like, I'm a bee.
I probably think I look like a bee, but
That's
my
true.
face... my, like, mouth is shaped where I'm just, like, naturally smiling all the time, and people have just said, like, that I have one of those personalities where people come up to me, strangers, and just start talking to me. I have, like, that stupid inviting presence where people just feel like they can just immediately start talking and opening up to me.
Oh, that's so not me.
And I'm like, I didn't ask for this. Stranger
That's
danger.
so funny. Stranger danger.
No, it happens to me all the time. I actually kind of love it because I am because I'm not an introvert.
Right.
I'm an extrovert. And people just start talking to me all the time.
Your extroverted aura is just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Yep. Anyways.
But yeah, so safety. So definitely, think about safety.
I need a coffee break.
Yeah.
How have you been sipping yours when?
Because you've been talking.
I didn't even see you sipping
My
it, though.
coffee is gone.
Mm-hmm.
It lasted 20 minutes. So something else that I can talk about, because Cassidy's still learning to be a pro about this. Again, I've been a photographer for a few more years than Cassidy, so she's still unfortunately having to learn the hatred of permits.
What?
Yeah, we hate them. So something when you're scouting the location is something to research is if you need a permit and or if there's some kind of entrance fee to that location. So in Pennsylvania, there's like tons of like historic landmarks that a lot of couples love shooting at in this area. And a lot of those kinds of spots require you to get a photo permit to shoot there, which is really unfortunate, but something that we just need to do to be respectful and just responsible business owners. There are some locations that you can kind of get away with like not, but a lot of locations they will like track you down and like kick you out. If not, I actually learned this the hard way one time. I was shooting at a state park and like a ranger came up to us and
scary.
Was being super rude, and luckily I got out of it because I genuinely didn't know, like, and also I include all my engagement sessions complimentary in my packages, so I could convince her that it was not a paid photo shoot, which it truly wasn't. Like, yes, they were paying me for their wedding, but, like, that shoot was not paid. And, but, yeah, I learned it the hard way, so just to be professional, it's always super easy to call and just ask. And a lot of times locations, if you just call and ask and are respectful, they'll just, like, kind of, like, wave it off. Like, I've had it where they're just like, well, I really appreciate you asking. Like, you're just fine to shoot here.
Wow.
But also sometimes it is a fee. And I always just have my couples pay that, and I communicate that with them, and if they want to pay it, then they do.
Yeah.
Or if they want a free location, then we just find a different spot.
Yeah.
But
I did run into that one time, too, like a issue where I didn't know. Okay, in my defense, I had shot there once before, and I did ask the person who was working, like, the desk or whatever, do I need, like, a permit or anything to shoot here? And they said no.
Seriously?
Yeah. So I shot, and then I brought a couple back another month. And there was this woman, multiple backstories to this. The woman was rude to me about not having purchased a permit or whatever. But in her defense, I think the week before I was there, or 2 weeks, very recently, these high school students had used this location for their prom photos, but they were so disrespectful to the property, leaving behind trash, stepping on plants that they weren't supposed to step on, like all this stuff, and they were so obnoxious that she was like still like in a bad mood over that.
Oh, yeah.
And so, because she explained this later, because I had apologized so many times. Basically, she stopped me mid-session in front of my couple and said, like, you don't have permission to shoot here, like, but then you need to pay, like, I think it was like $60.
Yeah.
But they only took cash, and they didn't have an ATM. So I had to drive down the street to where an ATM was in the middle of my session, get $60 out of the ATM, drive back, and pay her. And so I just kept apologizing because I literally told her I've shot here before. I've asked if I needed a permit and I was told no. And then she was like, so annoyed. She's like, that was probably my son-in-law who told you that. She's like, he never knows the rules, like, around here. So I guess, like, it's like she owns it, but the family, like, also half owns it. I don't know. But it was clear that like,
sucks, though.
Yeah, I think she started understanding that I wasn't. And then she explained the prom situation.
Jeez.
It was just kind of embarrassing for my couples, but in my defense, I feel like I did the steps I should have taken.
Absolutely, that
was weird.
They should have just waived it for you that time.
Yeah, no, those high schoolers ruined it for me, I think.
Yeah, sometimes locations can be too much to like handle to make it worth it. Yeah, there's some locations I'm not. I'm afraid to go
back. I don't want to go back to that.
There's a location I scouted and was super excited to shoot at recently. It's in the area. I think it's in like the Westchester area. A really nice field location, and I inquired about permits. They do, like, you have to pay a permit and then it lasts like a whole year.
Oh.
But it's literally $1,000.
What? Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I've had bars, if you try and shoot inside of a bar, where they charge, like, a couple $100 for an hour.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
There's a library in Philly that's one of my dream locations to shoot at, but they charge $500 for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few gardens.
So I'm like, I'm never gonna shoot there.
That's like that. And like, the couple's like, that's like more than a session would cost. Oh, not 200, but yeah. So definitely something. If it is more of a public location or a historic destination, definitely reach out for permits. It's better safe than sorry. As far as not getting interrupted, because clearly that happens. It's happened to both of us.
Yeah.
And it just feels so good when a park ranger does come up to you and you're like, nope, I'm all taken care of. Here's my permit. That feels so empowering and so professional to your couple. They're like, oh yeah, she's got it covered, and they feel very looked after too. So definitely something to think about before. And we kind of already talked about this, but also just the direction the sun sets. Making sure before you go to a session that you're liking the direction of the sunset if you're shooting at golden hour or sunrise. Just knowing that.
Yeah. What else that ties into, like, what else does your eye specifically look for when you show up to a location, whether you've been there before or not? Like, what are you looking for in a location?
Ooh, see.
Or, like, what do you see? So, like, okay, hold on. Let me back up a little bit, because we shot a wedding together recently. I was second shooting for you.
Yeah.
And I noticed this, because you were trying to find a spot to hang the dress, and we were at this mansion venue, and you were kind of talking out loud, and you were talking to me, and you were like, where do you think we could shoot the dress at? And you were finding a few different options, but your eye found a tree. Like, you found two trees, but one you really, really liked. But my eye was not necessarily looking for trees. So you should explain more about your mindset behind, like, what you're specifically looking for. What you see.
Yeah, so I always have the approach just kind of as a base of storytelling. Just like, what is going to tell a beautiful story, and how can I tell a beautiful story of that? Is the location the star of the story? Is the couple the star of the story? Is their memories at this location the star of the story? I actually have a session literally coming up tonight where the couple took their prom photos. They met in high school, and they've been together ever since high school, and they took their prom photos at this lake where we're going tonight. And so we're going back for their engagement session, like, I don't know, 6-7 years later, who knows. And they also, like, a frequent date of theirs is a ice cream shop right up the street. So we're starting with ice cream, and we're going then to the sunset spot, the lake where they took their prom photos. And so something I'm looking for with the location is, like, what kind of story is telling behind it. Obviously, going to the ice cream shop, like, the main story is them, an ice cream date. But then the location, they are going to be the star of the story. Their relationship is going to be the focus. And honestly, it sounds really weird, but I'm realizing this as I'm saying it, that when I'm photographing a couple, I kind of just space out any, like, logic, and I go all in intuition. Like, I shoot with intuition and, like, feeling. Like, a backdrop, obviously, like, you have to make sure low lighting is even and stuff like that. So that's obviously something that I look for. I typically shoot either backlit or, like, side lit.
Yeah.
I don't do much with direct light because that's not as much my style. I know that you really love
lately
like playing
with
front light, which is super cool, and it's been inspiring me. I've like tried a few shots like that if it's very storytelling, but
well, lighting does so much to tell a story.
Right. So I'm looking more at the lighting and the subject than I am the background.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I'm shooting a session and really what the couple is doing, how they're feeling, and letting that dictate how and where I shoot.
Yeah. No, yeah, same. I started by shooting like all like backlit, which is again why it's like all the sessions are at golden hour, and I put the sun like right behind them. Yeah. Or like off to the side. But yeah, lately I've been looking for, because lighting can be so storytelling-y. Yeah. Like when I'm doing a wedding day and I'm doing like details and stuff, I'm looking for like, I like dramatic lighting. So
you do.
Yeah.
You have more of a dramatic style.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
Yeah. So I'm looking for like direct light or filtered light, like through trees. Like which you noticed when we were hanging the dress at the last thing, like when the trees were like spotting the dress.
Typically that would have been a big no for me.
Right.
Yeah, but I felt like it told the story, and it really matched like her vision.
Yes.
Yeah.
It feels whimsical. And
it does.
Yes.
And that's exactly what she said when I showed her the back of my camera. She's like, that's so whimsical.
Yeah.
And the shot turned out super cool.
So lately I have been like really playing with light and like diving into things that I have always been told you avoid, like harsh direct sunlight.
And that's so cool because you are, like, newer in it. Like, you don't have a bunch of rules set for yourself. And I think I would just talk about this recently, that, like, I kind of have, like, a base of rules that I'm, like, I can't break that. Also, that's just part of me. I'm a very black and white person. I'm a very, like, this is the rule and this is how you follow it. I'm not a rule breaker. And it's cool that you don't have those rules set for yourself. So you're just trying all the things, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I've been loving it. And sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay. I just don't tell my couple that it didn't work the way I thought it would.
And that's something I can never imagine. Like, I'm like, I have to be so consistent for myself. Yeah. So it's so cool how, like, we're different like that.
Yeah.
So what do you look for getting to a new location then? What is your eyes, like, creatively looking for in your mindset?
Yeah, oh gosh, that's such a good question. Similarly, I think I have to start with what the couple wants, what their vibe is, what they said on their questionnaire, like, how they described how they wanted their day to feel. Yeah. So probably similarly, like, I am basing it off of feeling as well, and storytelling, and capturing what the couple wanted as their focus as well. And then, because there's just so many ways you can view of, like, a scenery. Yeah. So yeah, I go into it probably very, very similarly with, like, feeling and don't overthink it. And then I like to try a couple of different things, like, even for the dress or, like, details and stuff. I to, like, move around a little bit in case I, like, later decide, like, that didn't work the way I thought it would. I have like my backup option that I know for sure worked.
Yeah. That's true. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I love that. What also is another thing that I always do when it's a brand new location is show up super, super early. Yeah. To walk around and location scout. I feel like having the confidence behind, like, I know what I'm doing. Because, like, we are hired to be their guide. We're their guide, the couple's guide through wedding planning, in a way. We're their guide through, you know, obviously planning this engagement session, and then we're the guide during the engagement session. Like, I literally, I recently had a couple tell me, Lindsay, you need to have a disclaimer before every single session with your couples that says, 1, you will be walking through tall grass. If that freaks you out, tell Lindsay beforehand, because she doesn't think about it. Like, she walks through tall grass all the time, but not everyone likes that. Also, another disclaimer, you will be walking through poison ivy, but don't worry, Lindsay tells you how to take care of it when you get home so you don't break out. And then 3, yes, you will probably get a tick during your session, which Cassie and I were just talking about it today.
I had a tick on me this morning, literally.
Yeah, we both hate ticks. No one likes ticks, but I always end up taking my couples to, like, very outdoorsy locations because that's who I am, and, like, I walk through the woods with my couples. I walk through the tall grass with my couples. There's poison ivy and there's ticks in those locations. Yeah. And so it was funny. My couple was like, this is very on brand for you, but you should tell a disclaimer to your couples.
I actually was told the same thing recently. I was doing an engagement session last week, and I had my couple, like, kind of on the edge of the grass, but I was, like, in it. Yep. So that way it looked like, and they were, like, they just couldn't believe, they're like, you're, like, really in the, or, like, I'll be in the water, or I'll be, like, I'll be anywhere I need to be to get the shot, and I've had couples, like, kind of laugh at, like, Cassie's an amazing photographer, like, because she will literally get herself in anything, anywhere. Or,
like, near-death, like, experiences.
I know, like, I'm like, don't look over at me. I know. I'm not falling.
Well, like, just on Saturday.
The chair.
Oh, my gosh. I was standing on, like, one of those, like...
Not a sturdy chair at all.
Those white ceremony fold-down chairs that are, like, the least sturdy thing in the world. Yeah. All my weight on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. So
on the ground, I've lied down on the ground.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, all the time. Yeah. I like lie on my back. In the grass.
Those are some of the most beautiful shots.
Super cool shots.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do the most. For,
For
the good photos.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got to that, but we were talking.
That is something I look for, though. I look for tall grasses.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, a lot of my locations are around tall grasses.
Yeah.
Actually, really funny story. I was born and raised in Colorado, northeastern Colorado, where all there is tall grass and fields where you can see only the sky because there's no trees. And I still shoot both locations. I still shoot in Colorado a few times a year, and I obviously shoot mostly full-time in Pennsylvania. And it's so funny because all my Colorado couples, the locations that they want are trees and woods and greenery. And because there's none there.
Yeah, because it's different.
Yeah, and then all my couples in Pennsylvania, all that they want is tall grass and a big sky.
Yeah.
Like my Colorado couples. And then they see each other's pictures. I've literally had before a couple, I'm planning their engagement session in Pennsylvania, and they're like, this is the location I really like. Where's this?
And you're like, it's all the way out. You have to fly to the other side of the country.
But I'll go. But that's literally my hometown in Colorado. Yeah, so it's crazy. Ironic that, like, what you don't have, you want. But a lot of my sessions are built in Pennsylvania around tall grass.
And with the right eye, though, you can mimic, like, I've seen little corners, little pockets, and I'm like, this literally feels like I'm in Italy. Or this feels like I'm in France, even though it's just, like, this little pocket of park or a little pocket of, like, a venue.
Yes, I've said the same thing. Like, couples, like, they're going to think we traveled to, like, Tuscany?
Yeah. Italy?
Yeah. For this.
I think so.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know. I've never been there.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
We pronounced the name of our podcast wrong.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we cannot be trusted. It's a wonder we both passed high school, honestly.
And I was an English major.
That's on you. I didn't even try. Oh my gosh, so funny. What we wanted to kind of end with is it can be a complicated topic, but we couldn't talk about locations without talking about it, is we could not wrap up this episode talking about locations without talking about this subject, because it is very much a thing, and it's a big element of finding new locations and being in the photography community is gatekeeping. You already know what both Cassie and I feel about this, because that's literally how we met. It's because I did not gatekeep a location or the details of a location, but a way to really find good information about location or find a completely new location is reaching out to a local photographer who has already shot there. But there's a lot of photographers who are unwilling to share their locations. And so we kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. And I specifically wanted to talk about how to ask them for location information, like, correctly, because I think a lot of it is built on respect, and I think each photographer approaches this topic differently, and I think there's times when you can there's times it's okay to say, no, I'm not going to share this location with you, and then there's times where I feel like you can share a location. Like, like the location that we met about, literally everyone knows about this location. It is not a secret, but it's also not overrun with photographers, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so I happily shared those details, but there are some locations that I actually personally wouldn't share with someone because either it's literally my backyard.
Right.
Or, like, it's a location that another photographer in confidence shared with me. Yeah. And it's their location and they want to keep it private. And so, like, I've taken couples there, but I've had people be like, where was this? And I'm like, I'm sorry, like, I actually can't tell you because another photographer, like, has found it. And it's their location.
Yeah.
You can reach out to them, but, like, I can't. So I always say, like, when you're asking another photographer for locations, like, don't be shy to. Like, the worst I can say is no, but also, like, give them an out. Like, I would say ask with a nuance of, if you are unwilling to share, like, it's totally okay as well. Is there another location that is similar that you would be willing to share? Yeah.
No, yeah,
what is your thoughts on it?
Giving the out is great. Yeah, because then it's, like, not I don't know, it just kind of takes the pressure off.
Right.
Like, in general, you should kind of give people the, it's just polite.
It's
like,
respectful.
Give people the out. Yeah. I would say, too, that, like, building this goes back to, like, the creative community that's so important to build with, like, other local photographers. Like, this is also why you need each other. But if you're just, like, all the time interacting with photographers on the app, commenting on their work in general, like, saying what you love about it, just supporting them.
Right.
And then when you go to reach out to them, like, hey, I actually love this location, would you mind sharing it? But you've been, like, interacting with each other. I just think, like, in general, is just, like, a good way to use your social media. You should just be hyping up and encouraging your other local photographers as well. And then it probably would feel less intimidating. Like, if it would feel very intimidating reaching out to someone who you know is, like, in your area and you've never talked to them before and you're like, can I have this location?
A one-sided relationship.
Yeah, versus, like, just interacting in general on social media with people over time, and then it won't feel as intimidating when you go to reach out and be like, I love this location, or, like, whatever it is, or, like, what lens did you use here, or, like, what effect did you use to get this result? I love your work. Right. Like, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Also, something that I found, this probably should have been said earlier, but I just thought of it because we were talking about gatekeeping, is using local Facebook groups, like photography Facebook groups, is a really great resource. There's been times where I've needed a location in, like, Colorado, and I've asked, like, on a Colorado Facebook group, like, hey, is there anybody who's willing to share a location? And a lot of times people are, which is really cool. So that's also something, too. That is more of a one-sided relationship, but if they don't want to share their location, then they just don't comment.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the point of what Facebook groups are. Anyways, is, like, swapping.
Yeah, so that was really successful for me because I found it was, like, a very specific location. I needed a hiking trail that had, truck and trailer parking because they were bringing their horse for the photo shoot. And someone, like, really came through and, like, gave me the literal perfect spot. So you never know. Yeah. And then I, like, stalked the crap out of it on all trails and Google Maps and Google Earth.
Still did your own half of
all
the
the
work.
things, but that is also a really good way to respectfully ask for locations as well. And again, like, you don't always have to share a location, especially if it's something that you've developed for a long time. And but again, like, it's also community over competition. Like, if it's not going to overcrowd the area, or if that person's not going to, like, go and tell everyone else about it, then
I mean, you brought this up earlier too, but just saying, like, if you share a location, like, this is just for you, but if you could, like, don't tag it when you post it because I'd like to keep this location, like, private. I've had photographers tell me that too, and, like, obviously, like, you follow that and respect that.
For a lot of national parks, actually, or people who are very adventurous photographers, there's literally a location tag that, what is it called? It said, like, it says keep the wild or something like that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about,
and there's something else in front of it. I can't think of it. But, it says, location, and then it doesn't actually say the location. The location is keep the wild, which is kind of like an unstated, like, don't even ask me for this location because it's in the wilderness and we don't want to overcrowd it. Because, unfortunately, like, a lot of times after big photo location is hot, like we talked about Lock Ridge Furnace Museum, like, there's so many photographers there all the time. So, kind of sad.
And it only blew up recently because of social media, actually, and the Bluebells. It wasn't that popular, like, 8 years ago even.
Yeah, which is sad.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, it's, Longwood's the same way. Like, now you can't even shoot at Longwood Gardens. Starting in October, you can't even shoot at Longwood Gardens without literally an employee following you.
And a permit.
That's
new.
Yeah.
We didn't always have the permits.
Nope. And you actually already cannot shoot in the conservatory. Yeah, which is sad, because that was, like, a good rain plan for me.
Yeah, I know. That's
a
huge bummer.
It's like people...
I get it.
People with the wagon of lighting that... has ruined it, or the people who are rude to the people visiting the gardens.
People are rude to other guests, and like, or they just like step on things they're not supposed to step on. Like, that's just a general location rule too. Whether you're shooting in a brand new location, a state park, a local park, like whatever it is, like there should be no evidence that you were even there.
Yep. So yeah, that's exactly leave no trace. Like, it's so important just to be respectful. Like, we want to be respected as individuals, as business owners. Then we also, need to be respectful of a location. Even if, someone's not going to rat you out. Like, clean up your trash. Like, make sure that, you're, respectfully trampling grass. Yeah. I don't know.
Respectfully frolic through the forest.
We do... crunch grass sometimes, but
oh my gosh, especially those tall grasses. I make them sit in it, lie in it, roll in it.
I'm like, oh, it was a deer, but I feel like that is different. Yeah, but like, I also, little nuance of Lindsay, anytime I like pick a flower to like layer like in front of my lens or something, I always make sure it's like an invasive flower.
You would know that. I wouldn't know that.
Make sure it's an invasive plant. Before you pick
Google. Can you take a picture on Google and it will tell you what the plant is?
You can. Actually, on your iPhone, you can.
There you go. So, check that out.
Check it out. Make sure you scan the flowers before you pick them.
Those invasive roses you have in your house.
Yeah, we're about to go pick some invasive roses after this podcast. No joke.
That is such a Lindsay tip.
Yeah, so only harvest invasives. And only step on invasives.
I thought you were going to say, like, I pick one that's already dying.
I guess that's a good idea. If you don't know what's invasive, pick something that's on.
I know. I'm like, this
on the edge.
Ugly anyways.
It's gonna be gone after today. Also, while you're in your engagement session, just pull out invasive plants along the way.
Okay, Lindsay. Just grab a mushroom too while you're at it for dinner later.
Wait, not even kidding. Recently, I must have some influence to my couples because we were hiking, and I'm always along the trail identifying plants. Like, I really feel like engagement sessions double as like nature trail.
Hilarious.
Because I'm always just like, oh, look at those wild violets. And
that's a 2-for-1. You should add that to your packages. You get a nature tour.
I should. That should be part of my branding. Yeah. You're right. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna add that. But I was literally walking into a session with a couple, and I was like, oh, look, those are violets. Like, those are edible flowers. And they were like, really? Like, can we try one? And so literally I had a couple eating a wild flower. I love that for you. During their engagement session, and it like completed me.
That's hilarious, because instead of like, actually I know your clients have done this, but instead of putting the flower like behind the girl's ear or like giving it to her, they eat it. That's your couples.
I know. I wish I took a picture or a video, because
I'm surprised you didn't.
Well, I was just fully living in the moment. That's my toxic trait.
God bless.
I don't even think about it.
That's not a toxic trait. That's the healthiest trait. That's the opposite.
That's my beige flag.
That's your beige flag.
Living in the moment, not photographing it.
Even though you're a professional photographer.
Just kidding. That's not part of my branding. No, sometimes moments are best not captured.
Yeah, agreed. When they just don't get captured the way that they get experienced.
Yeah. Huh. Mm. Wow. That has me on a deep thought. Anyway, a couple literally ate a flower, an edible wildflower.
I love that for you. So I love that you find couples like that. They find you, or however it works.
It honestly completed me. Yeah. Yeah. But then also, I typically do have couples picking flowers and putting it in each other's hair.
Yeah. I've seen pictures of that for
only
you.
Invasives.
Yes.
It literally just happened last week, and I was like, oh, you can pick this flower because it's invasive. Most flowers are invasive, so anyways.
That's the last location tip we have for you guys.
Harvest invasive plants. And if they're edible, take them home and eat them because no waste.
Of course.
No waste.
Of course. Why not?
We need a podcast episode on Lindsay telling what kind of invasive plants you can eat.
Yeah, it'll be a follow-up to this episode. Part 2.
Episode 4.2.
Okay, right. Well, I'm sure you had to have learned something from this episode.
Yes, and I hope it wasn't about plants.
Yes, huh? Hopefully more something that helps you pick your next location.
Yeah, and I hope you learned something through our process, and maybe we're inspired to, even approach your planning of your couple sessions differently with some more intentionality as well.
Yeah.
Because it is something that's so beautiful that should not be just skipped over lightly.
Yeah, and then you don't have to feel like you're on repeat, even though you're using the same location, if you approach it with the mindset of serving your couple and telling their story and
absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Well, thank you so much for listening to us and our little extra rambles as well. Mm-hmm. This was very fun, and we're going to go off and harvest some invasive roses now.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
See you next week.
Bye.